Today we are all gathered here for reasons of our own, but we have one same expectation: to gain meaningful experiences as participants in the HKU HSBC Global Case Competition. Citizens who go to public hospitals, they're the same. They have reasons of their own, but they have one same expectation: to gain satisfactory services from the public service ministries that provide them. Dear Maltese Ministry of Health, today we understand your concern that it is very hard to meet these expectations and give services that these citizens need when they come into the hospitals. Therefore, today we present to you Malta's healthcare system in the hospital and in the society, so that you can give these services and satisfactory experiences to the citizens who need them. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is truly an honor to stand before you today in this meaningful day. We are Team Yonsei, proudly representing South Korea. I am the first speaker, Eun-young Chung, who will be followed by Seung-hee Cho, Suji Lee, and Ji-hoon Kim for the later strategies that we have today. So first, let us look at what we are facing. We see that the healthcare of Malta has a very long history, and they also have medicaments as top exports. So we see that the problem isn't exactly the quality of the medicaments or quality that they provide. It is rather how they manage the system that is given to the customers. Then let us look at the public health of Malta and Maltese citizens. First, we see that they are suffering from problems of overweight or obesity problems in the current situation. We also see issues regarding drug abuse. However, we still see that the life expectancy of Maltese citizens is very high. So what is the implication of this phenomenon? We see that they are suffering from symptoms that can actually be cured with medical services if they manage to get the services that they need at the right time with the right convenience. Then let's look at the current healthcare system of Malta. We see a parallel system of public and private, but with different objectives. We see that this as an issue because the public actually wants to maximize quality by efficient use of resource, while the private sector wants to maximize shareholder value by selling their services. Therefore, it is natural that these private sectors would send the unprofitable sectors to the public service providers that are in the current situation. So first, what is the problem? We see that there's a mismatch of citizens' characteristics and the value chain. So while citizens are mostly suffering from chronic illnesses that have to be constantly treated, the Ministry of Malta is actually giving services from the start to the end with a value chain that has a start and an end. We also see that because there's more load to the public sector, there is a very high rate of out-of-pocket payments in medical sectors than compared to the other areas of Europe, which results in those who can afford them just going to the private sectors and the government being less able to control the rate of healthcare systems that is provided to the citizens.
Now, considering all these factors in mind, our team has come up with the core question: how can the Maltese Ministry of Health solve its healthcare load distribution problem? Now, we would like to further identify what we mean by the load. Now, we have decided to analyze the load in two horizons, and by load we mean the burden. We would like to analyze the load that it has a load distribution problem in the public hospitals and the load distribution problem in society as a whole. Now, we would like to first begin about analyzing the load distribution problem in the public hospitals. As you can see, this is the current value chain in Malta's public hospitals. Now, the problem is that, as Eun-young mentioned, because the Maltese patients tend to abuse the system very much, we felt that it was extremely easy and approachable for them to actually visit the hospitals no matter the intensity of their sickness or their illness. So for example, even if I had a flu and if I was a Maltese patient, I will be able to approach and visit the hospital very easily compared to all the other systems. So we felt that this was a problem that led to the overcapacity of the healthcare facilities. Moreover, because the number of users in our system were too much, there are of course problems such as the slow admission and the administrative process. And this, of course, makes the overall treatment very inefficient as well. And as Eun-young mentioned, the real problem was that there is no divide between the chronic patients and the non-chronic patients. So we felt that the repeat customers in the system was extremely high because the customers would visit over and over again since the system was very approachable. Moreover, this led to a lower quality experience, leading to unsatisfactory customer experience overall. So the dilemma is this. Because the current system in the public hospital is extremely approachable and easy for them, there is a burden on the public hospital system itself. Now, we have come to this question. So does that mean we have to make them unapproachable and difficult to visit? We felt that by actually distributing the load between the customers and the public hospitals, we will be able to balance this load. And in order to do that, we will have come up with a few strategies. Now, as you can see, we believe that we will allocate some of this process to the customers themselves. We believe by actually eliminating the first two systems in the value chain and turning it to a self-service system, we will actually be able to solve the load distribution problem. We believe that we'll be able to optimize the capacity in our healthcare facilities inside the public hospital, and we believe that we will be able to speed up the admission and the administrative processes. We will also make the treatment much more efficient, and we will also decrease the number of repeated visits of our chronic customers. And this will, of course, lead to us enhancing the quality of our system and making it much more efficient. And to achieve this, we have come up with two main strategies. The first being the digital doctor, and the second being beacon technology, which our teammates will further explain. Now, as you can see, the digital doctor system will make sure that the first two steps in the value chain are done by the customers themselves very efficiently. Moreover, it will also decrease the follow-up repeated visits of our chronic customers who have to visit the hospital over and over again. Now, we also believe that beacon technology, which our team will further explain, will actually help in making the treatment process much more efficient. Now, the second problem that we have analyzed was, of course, the load distribution problems in terms of society. As you can see, Malta follows a parallel healthcare system. And what we mean by that is that Malta employs two different healthcare systems, the public and the private. However, the problem is that the private hospitals are becoming much more expensive and much more sophisticated. And this means that the number of users who can access these facilities are decreasing. And that means that the number of users who are using the public hospitals instead are increasing, thus leading to the overcapacity problem that we have mentioned. So this was originally supposed to be a parallel model, but this has led to a bipolarization of the two different systems in the Malta society. So we believe that instead of, to solve this bipolarization problem, we will actually balance the load of these two systems between the private hospitals and the public hospitals. We will do this by increasing the performance of the public hospitals and increasing their efficiency. And in order to do this, we have come up with two main strategies, being the payment renovation model and the pay for premium system. Now, to recap our analysis of the problem and our strategies, we have shown you this chart. We believe that the core problem in Malta's healthcare system is the load distribution, both in terms of in the hospital and in society overall. We believe that the load distributed between the consumer and the public hospital is imbalanced. And we believe we will be able to solve this by streamlining the value chain model using the digital doctor system and applying beacon technology. Moreover, we believe that there is a bipolarization in terms of society because it is no longer a parallel model when it comes to the public hospitals and the private hospitals. So we believe that by balancing the bipolarization inside our Maltan society, we will be able to solve our load distribution problem that Malta is currently facing. And in order to do that, we will be applying the payment renovation system and the pay for premium strategy, which our teammates will further explain.
Our previous speaker, Singi, has established the importance of our two strategies, in hospital and in society. Now, we're going to explain the detailed explanation of the action plans that will implement the two strategies and help Malta develop a distributed, balanced healthcare system in its country. For the first strategy, which is in public hospitals, we have developed two action plans. The first action plan is called the Digital Doctor. This is creating a digital experience targeted for chronic patients. Firstly, there's two parts to this action plan, and we want to make sure that it is easier for chronic patients to take care of themselves at home. The first aspect to this action plan is to create PPPs with healthcare device companies. We want to be able to subsidize the price of the device for the chronic patients so that the chronic patients can use the devices at home and take care of themselves and reduce the frequency of them going to the doctors. And in order to link this, we will provide the healthcare mobile applications on their smartphones. We will connect it with their healthcare device and collect the data about their health. For example, if they have diabetes, we will collect the data about their blood glucose, and also, as an added feature, we will send the data weekly to the GPs, their personal GPs, so that the GPs can recommend treatment and if it is necessary for them to go to the doctor. The second action plan is called hospital navigation. With this, we would like to utilize beacon technology for efficient and easy service at public hospitals. So you might be asking, what is beacon technology? Beacon technology is using Bluetooth to know where the location of your device is at a certain point of time. So we will have a smartphone application that will utilize this beacon technology. So for example, let's say a patient goes to the hospital. This application will show a list of actions that they have to carry out for their visit to the doctor. For each of the actions, it will show a list of locations and the way and the directions for their locations. At their arrival for their location at the actions, it will connect to the reception desk through the beacon technology, and it will directly show the waiting time. And when the doctor is ready, it will also show that they can enter the doctor's room and the location where it is at.
The expected impact of our first strategy are as follows. First of all, through the first action plan of Digital Doctor for chronic patients, we'll be able to decrease the number of repeated visits to public hospitals. Further, because it will increase the efficiency on the visits to public hospitals, because we send the health data through analysis and send it prior to the visits to the public hospitals, we'll be able to increase the efficiency of patient care in public hospitals. And secondly, the hospital navigation will do the hospital navigation action plan. We'll be able to increase the efficiency of care and treatment in the public hospitals. And with this, we'll be able to make faster the rotation of patients, solving the overcapacity problems. And secondly, we'll have increased satisfaction for patients because there will be no more confusions within the hospitals. The costs and benefits analysis of this strategy are as follows. First of all, the cost will be subsidizing wearable devices for easier access for patients and the beacon installment fees on public hospitals. On the other hand, the benefits we'll have faster rotation of patients, thereby leading to less load on public hospitals, and also will increase the patient satisfaction. And since our group thought that despite the costs incurred, we thought the benefits for the Maltese government would be bigger. And because of this, we decided this strategy would be a must-do strategy.
For the second strategy, which is the in-society strategy, we have also come up with two action plans. The first action plan is called the payment innovation, in which we would like to adopt the reimbursement payment system for Malta. So currently, the system in Malta is as such. There is free healthcare at the point of service. However, we want to adopt this new system that is benchmarking the systems in France. So it will be so that it will be paid actually at the point of service, but reimbursed in a couple of days. And now you might be wondering, how about for the people who cannot come up with the money on time? Well, for the qualifying low-income patients, it will be offered free at the point of service. I'm sorry. For the second action plan, which is called Pay for Premium, we would like to increase the private services by increasing the tax on the private healthcare systems so that the customers and patients can use more the public services that is provided by Malta.
The expected impacts of our second strategy are as follows. First of all, through the payment renovations action plan, we'll be able to raise awareness of the cost to patients. Because they are paying and then getting reimbursed, they will have more awareness of the cost of public hospitals and will reduce needless visits to public hospitals. Thereby, because of the reduced needless visits, we'll have better service quality in public hospitals due to reduced number of customers. Now, through the Pay for Premium action plan, we would like to decrease the money for value merits of private hospitals and thereby reduce the magnitude of the bipolarization between public and private sectors. The cost and benefits analysis of our second action plan are as follows. First of all, the cost will be dissatisfaction of patients, which is inevitable. First of all, because of the reimbursement model, we'll decrease the patient's satisfaction because the patients will have to pay first, and we'll decrease the satisfaction of patients because of the increased tax on patients for premium because patients will need to pay more. Now, the benefits from this strategy, however, are reduced number of needless public hospital visits, which is a necessary part of our problem, and we'll be able to close the money for value gap between public and the private sector. And we'll also have tax revenue for future strategies. And since our group decided that the benefits exceed the costs, we thought this strategy was a valuable strategy. The strategy timeline is as follows. Considering we're in 2018, we divided the parts into three, 2018, 2020, and 2025. We decided to implement the payment renovation and the pay for premium action plans at this moment because they are relatively more easy to implement. And since the digital doctor and hospital navigation require some time for the PPP contract and the Beacon installments, we decided to implement it in 2020, by when we will be able to also benefit from the resources that we get, the tax revenues we get from the Pay for Premium action plan. The risks and mitigation plans for our strategy are as follows. The first risk would be inevitably the funding for strategy implementations. But since we have the aforementioned increased tax revenue from Pay for Premium action plan, and since we have better quality hospitals through our suggested strategies, because our strategies will make an enhanced hospital infrastructure in Malta, we expect an increased medical tourism revenue, which will be able to mitigate the risk regarding funding. Secondly, the political dilemma of vote for me vs the raised taxing. This is caused because dissatisfaction caused by reimbursement model and the increased tax on private hospital patients. Therefore, we decided to mitigate this risk by evading the election periods for the strategy implementations. However, also we would like to persuade thoroughly to the people of Malta the necessity of the aforementioned strategies through communication.
Dear Maltese Ministry of Health, today we understand your concern that you want to provide satisfactory experiences for your citizens. However, we also understand your concern that you do not have unlimited budgets that you can use to provide those services and have public and private sectors work as they should in the current society. Therefore, we suggest that you do that by streamlining your value chain of the public sector with the two strategies that we offer today. First, in hospital, and second, in society. We believe that with these strategies and implementations, the streamlined value chain will actually be fit for the chronic diseases that these citizens are suffering from, and therefore be able to target and give value to these citizens in the status quo. At the end of the day, we believe Malta's healthcare will be a road to better public healthcare in the crossroad that they are facing. Thank you. That's the end of our presentation, and the floor is now open for Q&A.
Thank you very much, Yonsei University. And now we'll proceed to the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very clear presentation, simple, a number of proposals to do, but I'm not so sure that it will have been so effective, like the digital doctor. Firstly, for elderly people, it's always a problem using online devices and so on. And secondly, it's not just seeing the doctor. You also have to go and get the medication. Even though you may not need to go and see a doctor, you still need to go somewhere to pick up the prescriptions and so on. The beacon technology is a good thing. It's always a maze in hospitals, which way you should go and so on. What you didn't put a percentage on all these proposals. What percentage of decrease will you aim at or target? What's your thought about this? If it is only 5%, is it worth all that? If it's 20%, obviously it's different. One final thing is about the paying first and then reimbursing. I think you actually include more manpower to do that, more administrative work to do that. So these are some of my comments and questions.
Oh, okay. First of all, we would like to thank you for your insight, and we would like to thank you for your question. You did give us a lot of questions to answer, so I will go through them one by one. The first being, you mentioned about our target customer and their age. However, we believe that this digital doctor technology is not actually something that the customers have to work for. We believe in increasing the efficiency for our customers themselves. So we believe that we will be able to subsidize and partner with these wearable device technology. So for example, wearable devices such as Fitbit, which measures your heartbeat or your vital signals. And we believe that the elder age customers will not find them a burden because they will just have to wear it and they will not have to actually input each and every data themselves. They may have to input some data that are not being covered by these wearable devices, but we believe that these wearable devices in the current market will actually minimize the need for them to actually work in order to use this digital doctor technology. And your second question was, I'm sorry, could you? Oh, yes. Yes, we believe, yes, thank you for your insight. We believe that, of course, the customers have to visit the hospital at some point. However, the purpose of our strategies was not to actually eliminate the need for our chronic patients to visit the hospital completely. What we felt was that the current Malta system allows our customers to make unnecessary visits or inefficient visits to the hospital. So what we believe is that by reducing this inefficient visits using our strategies, we will able to mitigate the problem that we have mentioned. So as you have mentioned, our customers may have to visit the hospital in order to pick up their medication, but they will have to only pick it up when it is needed. They will not have to visit the hospital again and again unnecessarily. So we hope that that answers your question.
The percentage you envisage of decrease of workload using a digital doctor?
We actually do not have a clear percentage for the decrease. However, if we were to implement these strategies, we will have to calculate how much percentage of the cost we will be able to reduce and compare it to the benefits that we will gain. And since we had limited time and we did not do the cost analysis very effectively, but I think the implementation will be done after the cost and benefit analysis thoroughly. And the last question was, sir?
Oh, thank you. Thank you again for the presentation. Enjoyed it. So just two questions, really. What is your view on the balance between the private sector and the public sector? How is that balance, and how do you feel about that? And second of all, in terms of the quality of the service right now, how would you go ahead and try to get an assessment? And how do you feel comfortable with that assessment?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the second question once more?
So how would you verify the assessment of the quality that's being provided by the public sector hospitals? Because one of the basic and most important things was that it's got a long history in medicine, and we have strong exports in medicaments, right? So in terms of service, it's not an issue. But how would you actually go back and assess if service is really a quality issue for the doctors, etc.?
For the assessment, if I've understood your question right, I think the assessment of the service quality will be measured by how long the patient has to stay within the hospital, in the public hospital. If they can be done faster and streamlined, then there will be an assessment of increase.
What about the quality of the doctors, for instance?
Quality of the doctors.
I'm sorry. We believe that, of course, the case mentioned that the number of the doctors have shown a decrease, and I mean it's relatively small compared to the number of customers who are actually inside these public hospitals. So what we believed was that we did discuss this in our process, but we didn't mention it in the case. We did believe in training the new doctors and university students by creating partnerships and affiliates with with universities and educational institutions. Moreover, we believe that our doctors in Malta will be able to reach their full potential when the number of the customers that they have to deal with decreases. We believe another key factor besides educating and training them is providing them with a sustainable environment to work in. And this is not being possible because of the overcapacity inside these public hospitals. So by decreasing the number of the customers inside our hospital, we will be able to give them an environment in which they can actually rest and study to reach their full potential as capable and strong individuals.
So on the public and private balance, the balance between the public hospital and also the private hospital side, I think it's about 30% on the private side at the moment, or 20%. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah.
I'm sorry, but could you elaborate on your question? We didn't really understand what the key.
I think in terms of the overall, the market segment of the market penetration of the private sector comes up to
29%.
29% versus the public sector.
Out-of-pocket payment.
Yeah.
Actually, my last question was, if the patient pays first and then reimbursement is actually costing you more administrative work.
Yes. First, may I answer your question first? We would like to thank you for your question. And what we felt was that, yes, as you said, the administrative fees and the administrative costs in order to process the reimbursement payment will be long. However, we believe that this is actually quite more efficient because there are other countries, such as South Korea, which are applying this process and this system in their public hospitals. And we believe that the purpose of actually using this system was to make sure that the customers think twice before actually making unnecessary visits to the hospital. So instead of having to, we felt that there is a need to actually make the whole process of visiting the public hospitals for each and every illness a little bit much more unapproachable, as we mentioned before, because we felt the overcapacity was a huge problem that Malta's public hospitals had to deal with.
If I may answer Honorable Judge's question. First, thank you for your insight and your comments. Regarding the public and the private sector, we saw that there is a very high rate of out-of-pocket payments. And we thought this is actually problematic, and then the government doesn't get to control the whole area of the medications or the services provided to the citizens. So we thought, what is the core problem of this phenomenon that is happening? And we thought that the quality of the public sector that keeps going down leads to customers who can afford it going to the private sectors. And then the private sectors having more money to even develop faster services and such. And therefore, there is, as we mentioned before, capitalization of medical services. So that is basically what we wanted to target and solve in the current situation by giving satisfactory experiences in the public sector, as we mentioned before. This will actually alleviate the problems that is very prominent in the current situation.
So one of the strategies that you're proposing is to essentially price people out of the private sector. What we don't talk a lot about is how do we actually bring the quality up in the public sector in terms of devices, in terms of number of doctors. And I'm here in the Ministry of Healthcare. I'm obviously concerned how we fund all of this. So can you explain this a little bit more?
So we wanted to tax the private sector because we wanted to, as mentioned earlier, we wanted to close down the bipolarization gap and what was the second part about the?
So my question is, if you drive people out of the private sector into the public sector, you need to have better quality in the public sector because a lot of the private sector provides specialized services. How are you going to do this, and who will pay for it?
I think the strategies regarding increasing the quality of public sectors are more related to our first strategies, which is to do the reduce the number of visitors to public sectors, and by reducing the number of needless visits and number of patients in the public sectors, we wanted to increase the service quality within the public sectors, and that was done through the our strategy action plans.
If I may add on to his answer, we believe that the digital doctor program and the beacon technology will actually enhance the service quality of our public hospitals. We believe that this high technology will, of course, as he mentioned, increase the efficiency of our system overall. But we also believe that this will allow the whole treatment process to be much more precise, because these digital doctor services will actually record each and every vital signal even outside the hospital, thus increasing the precision of our treatment and the amount of data that has been accumulated for our doctors to actually analyze. So we hope that this answers your question, and that it will actually help the doctors increase their expertise by making use of the data that has been accumulated both inside the hospital and outside the hospital.
And tell me, in this journey, what do you think is your biggest challenge?
Thank you for your insight. We believe that there are actually many challenges existent when we want to do this strategy, mostly due to the atmosphere and the environment of Malta, that citizens are actually keep suffering from chronic diseases as a whole. So basically, if we want to provide the automatic services or beacon technology or digital doctors, there will be problems regarding the age and the penetration, as the chairman mentioned before. But we also think that the public actually trying to getting used to the services that we provide will be the key to implementing our strategy. So basically what we are proposing is actually differentiating from the last value chain that they had and trying to streamline it and getting to the customers. However, the customers who are not actually yet accustomed to this service of digital doctor or other systems in the society, they might need time in order to adjust to the prices that are increased in the private sectors. So their experiences in medical sector as a whole will actually change. And we believe by actually giving the customers more information and trying to communicate with the public more as we go will be the key to implementing our strategy.
Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yonsei University. You may now return to your seats.
Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you so much. I had a very good time.